This talk is active career management. I'm Bob Fornal, senior solutions developer for a company out of Columbus, Ohio, called Leading Edge. And I'm okay with people coming in that door. That doesn't bother me. I also started a company called Code Squid a couple years back. And this talk evolved out of essentially a need I saw in the industry. About 5 years ago, I ran into a boot camp called 100 Devs. It started up, and there was something like 20,000 people were there day one. Free online boot camp. And long story short, I threw my Calendly link out, and these guys booked me solid 7 days a week for 3 months in a 20-minute window. And I probably did 400 to 500 coffee chats in that first 3-month window. Over time, I've continued those. And a lot of the conversations have revolved around an entry level. It makes sense, right? I mean, how do I get started in the industry? How do I get the job? And having done that many of them, I have those same conversations with mid-levels, with senior levels. All kinds of odd conversations when you hit the senior level range too, right? I mean, I've done the same job at my company for 30 years. How do I shift? Right? How do I reposition myself when, and many of these people I'm talking to, you go to their LinkedIn and there might be a photo if you're lucky. There's one line of what they did on their job because they did the same job for 30 years. They didn't need it. They don't know how to use it. Okay. There's so many other things in there, right? We heard networking, communications in the last presentation. That's a big part of what I talk about as well. These are thoughts and ideas, the things that work. This is advice. Okay. And I always preface my talks like this on that being advice, because you've got to take it, you got to leave it, you turn it upside down on its head, whatever works for you. Okay? If something I say here feels uncomfortable, you don't feel like that's the right thing to do, don't do it. Right? You got to live in that world that's right for you. Okay? So, moving forward here we go. I do work at Leading Edge. We solve problems. We're mostly mid-senior level developers that are very, very good at what we do. Okay? That's all the sales pitch you're getting about my company. That's it. Okay? Essentially, everything I thought about my career was wrong. Okay? I started writing code 47 years ago. I was 10 years old. Computer science degree at the University of Dayton. I was ROTC. I had 4-year scholarship. I was going to go active duty Army. Really didn't have to worry about what my career looked like afterwards. It was a big surprise when they put me in the reserves. Right? All of a sudden I had to do some hard thinking, right? I hadn't networked. I hadn't done many internships. I didn't do any internships because I was doing military stuff during the summer. Right? It was a different world. All of a sudden I had to look for a job. Now realize this was 1990. The internet was still 4 years away. Okay? Searching for a job was a little different then. I hadn't built any kind of a network. You were looking companies up in a phone book and driving out and shaking a hand and hopefully finding out what software they used. UD did us really nicely. We had a free programming language that the government gave us called Ada. Anybody remember Ada? 2. Hey, that's pretty good. Usually it's like one person in the room and he looks like he's about ready to fall asleep in the back of the room. Yeah, nobody uses it. Nobody used it then. Nobody uses it now. It's the language we learned. And so when I walked in and said, this is the programming language I learned, it didn't help. Okay? Also didn't help that I'm kind of a stubborn pain in the ass. Excuse the language. I am. I wanted to do things myself. Should have been a clue that the first job I got was a friend of the family called me up and said, hey, we need somebody to teach computers in a prison. Fun way to jumpstart your career, let me tell you. Learned a lot of wild things. Getting trained as a hostage negotiator is kind of cool. That's why I end up on stage here, right? I like helping people. I like talking, that kind of stuff too. Okay? When I hit the 100 Devs cycle in there, things changed a little bit. And I started to see some of the things that I wasn't doing well. Okay? Wasn't networking. Okay? I'm going to step here into this one and look at this a little differently, okay? What I saw was various levels, okay? And things that people were doing and weren't doing. And I had to look at what I did right. I had, prior to this, Okay, that was 5 years ago. I started 10 years ago, December, at Leading Edge. I found the right job and I found the right company. That's a big deal. Found a company that I enjoy working at, work that I love to do. That's a big deal. Okay? What I saw was people weren't using social media right. I probably should hang on to this as opposed to walking away towards it every few seconds, right? Ooh, as I take the microphone apart. Here we go. Let's try this. There we go. There. Then I can turn around and do this. Better? Yeah. I have one of those voices that can fade. I know that. All right? So social media, almost, and I would say probably close to 98% aren't using social media right. Entry level, mid-level, late career. I ran into one the other day that was really close, one of the closest I've ever seen. Okay? And social media, right? This is your representation of you. Think LinkedIn, right? Primary source, right? It's got a photo. It says who you are. It's the super source for your resume, right? You fine-tune your resume down from there. Entry level. Rarely see people using that right. Okay? We see the same, and I'm going to step through a little bit here, but like the mid-career, you see the same social media problems. They have it there. They don't keep it up to date. More recently, they've started to ask for what's your return on investment and what you're doing. Right? Current company I'm at had no unit tests against any code when I came on board. I pushed really hard for that. I've gotten integration tests in. I know from experience that adding unit tests is going to reduce the number of bugs that get to production by about 90%. This is a fact. I've seen it over and over again through my career, right? This is an ROI. It's not one that I had to go to the client and say, hey, what is the number? It is nice if you get that sometimes. Sometimes you have to ask for it. It's okay. Hey, I built this thing out. How's it helping the company? And if they give you hard numbers, that's a great one to put in an ROI, right? Okay. Right job, right company. Fitting in along these lines. I guess I should say on social media, late career, one of the scary findings for me is late career, those folks that are 20, 30 years, same company kind of thing, rarely know how to use social media, right? What did I say? Sometimes you see a photo. Sometimes you see one line on the company. And where it becomes even worse at times is these guys typically don't want to do the same thing they've done for decades, right? They want to change things up. They want to work on new tooling. They want to work on something different, right? But how do you reframe that? How do you position that? How do you get a company to take a look at somebody like me that's been doing it for 47 years and take that risk that I'm not going to come in and take his job, right? That manager knows I could lead the team. That tech lead knows I can lead that team. I've done it, right? I don't want to do it. The trick is getting them to believe that sometimes, right? That's a tough one. Right job, right company. Okay. Right job is an interesting one. Right job's an interesting one because I had this weird exercise that showed up in 100 Devs. And I preface this, and I take a little bit of time on this one because it's scary and it didn't make sense and I didn't do it at first. I found this weird little book called The 2-Hour Job Search. And I started reading it. It's only about 80 pages long. It's not a long read, but I found the exercise on like the 3rd page. Same exercise. And a week later, I'm at a conference and I got this speaker up on the main stage and he throws out the same exercise. At this point, I'm like, okay, too many people are telling me this thing. It's this weird, scary exercise. And it's not complicated, but what it is, and I preface this because you need to know that there's a reason for it. And it's to track down 60 companies that you might want to work for. And I don't care what level of your career you're at, you need to do this. Okay, currently I have a tool, and if we get a chance, I'll show you the tool. We'll see how time goes. That I track the companies now. I tracked my 60. I looked at tech stack. I looked at their values. Values are an important piece of the equation of finding the right company, right? My simple example is if you don't believe in harming animals in any way, shape, or form, you're probably not going to want to work at a slaughterhouse, right? Doesn't matter what the job is. Doesn't matter how much they pay you. The values are too different. You got to find that value match. 60 is the important number there because you see enough sets of values to figure out which ones fit your value set. You're looking at your value system in relation to working with a company. Okay? That's an important piece of the equation. The other piece is with 60 is now you can start to identify who your top companies are. People ask me all the time, should I be looking at Java? Should I be looking at .NET? Where's the work? That kind of thing, right? Angular, React. Those are always common questions. In my mind, I can't answer that question for most people. I don't know what the industry is going to do. But what I can do is if you know who your top 5 companies are, pick an odd number. Could be 5, could be 7, could be 9, whatever. Pick an odd number to split a tie. What does their tech stack look like? If 4 out of your 5 are .NET, I wouldn't be wasting much time on Java. Position yourself well there, right? That list of company gives you a place to strategically network. This is important too, right? We've got social media, first one on our list. I'm going to open up a bunch of people from that company. I'm going to be going down that list and, oh, look, Bob Fornal works for the company. He's on social media all the time posting. Matt Eland, a coworker of mine who's also a Microsoft MVP, it does the same thing. If you wanted to work at Leading Edge, might be good to connect with us because we're out there already communicating, right? You don't want that person that only posts once every 9 months or never has because they may never see it. Could be 2 years before they see it. They don't get out there frequently. You want that frequency, right? Strategically network. Building those connections. I mean, I would assume most people here realize that roughly about 90% of the jobs that we're seeing out there that people are getting are off of referrals, right? We had Danny Thompson down in Texas just switched companies, but one of the clients he was working with, they had a junior recruiter put a posting up, forgot about it. Week later came back. In this kind of market, had 60,000 people had applied for one job. She took that to her boss, who then took it to the CEO, and Danny happened to be in the room when they came in. And he said, what do we do with this? How do we even parse out 60,000 applications? CEO looked at them and said, hey, we got John down there on the dev teams who's given us good recommendations in the past, and he told me he's got somebody that could fill this role. Yeah, that was my response. He wasn't even on the list of 60,000 people. Referral, right? It is, I mean, that old phrase, it's who you know. I should have gone back to that first job where it was a family friend that said, hey, I got a job you could fill. And realized that that network's important. I didn't build that, not until recently. Okay? Another piece that we add into this, just recently, within the last 2 years, I had somebody ask me a question. This was a scary question. He said, if you lost your job tomorrow, who are the 10 people you'd reach out to? I think about that, right? I came up with 3 people. I mean, just in the 10 seconds after he asked the question. 2 of them I work with. That doesn't do me much good. If I'm being cut, they're probably being cut too. That's not much help. Okay, so when I started thinking about it that way, I started looking at this connections differently. That's a critical piece to my career long term. Having a network that's not just networked within my company. Those folks that are late career, that's tough. That probably is most of whom they've networked with over time. Getting out to those meetups, getting to the conferences, these things are important. Not so much for the talks, I don't think. I spend more time talking to people in the hallway than I do going to talks most conferences. It's been that way for years. That's why I like conferences like this where they record it, because I can go back and actually see some of the talks after the fact. Okay? Important stuff here. So we're going to jump forward one. Building things. This one's not as critical. There was a question at one point in time, should I be building some application? Danny Thompson's group down in Texas does a really good job. They have these kind of workshop-y things that they do where they get actually a senior dev and a couple of juniors and mids together, and they build a project. Typically a real-world kind of thing. They built some barbershop application somewhere along the way. And these people have practical experience to talk to. What was it like to work on the dev team? What was it like to work with other folks? What was it like to build this out and have that in play? You get companies now that are asking you to build things. It's not a problem. I kind of like that. Let me build something. I'm good at it. Right? I can build it out 2 separate ways. Build it out, use AI, build it out myself, and let's look at the difference. Why did you make this technical choice? Those are good things to ask, right? As you're talking to clients. Is it critical to do? I don't necessarily think it is, especially at the mid and senior level. But you look at the entry level, it's really good to have work to talk to. At the same time, I always tell people if you're building something, be very, very careful with that. Always have your backups in place, right? You're doing a chat. You know, hey, I can switch over to my phone if the internet drops, if my computer dies, if the battery dies, whatever, you have to have that backup, right? Have the same thing for your software. If you're demoing a piece of software you built for them to talk about, make sure that website's up and running before the talk. Make sure you got a version of it running on your computer just in case something glitches up. I've had a couple of folks that were on Vercel. Vercel was down for 2 hours. Guess what? It was right in the middle of 2 interviews. Friends of mine. One had his backup ready. The other one didn't. Kind of tough, because the next level you go to is, let's take a look at the repo. That's the one you don't want. Okay? You do a repo, do it right. Do branching, merge things in, use a separate account. Make sure you're doing the right things with that repo that you would typically do with the repo. Put in proper documentation, including checklists and things like that. Because the thing you absolutely don't want somebody to do is look at your code. Right? You've looked at other people's code before, especially when they're new on the team or you're new on the team. There's variances in style. And we argue things, right? Do we put the semicolon at the end of the line? Do we use spaces versus tabs? We love to argue these things. You don't want that argument coming into the interview. The absolute worst thing you want is them looking at your code. Guarantee it. Okay? Every time I've heard that, it's been bad. Oh, here, talking about the things to do on your project, right? You have your PR board, you have your project board, you have your wiki notes. Have your checklist of things to do. I've had a young lady that went in and we're going to have to go real fast here because I got 2 minutes left, 1.5 minutes, something like that. She had a checklist. And one of the things that she hadn't checked was add unit tests. And they commented on the fact that there were no unit tests. Well, it was on my checklist. Got the job. Right? She knew it was there. She was ready to do it when she had time. This was a personal project. Okay? All right. Portfolio. You can read that one later. We don't have enough time there. Portfolios can be important. I haven't seen it too much. Make sure your portfolio is geared towards recruiters, not other developers. Don't build what you like. Build something that sells you. Okay? Why you're the best fit. Resume versus ATS. Got to use a checker. You got to check. It's keyword match. Okay? You really got to do that. The company they built, I have now job-squid.com. I do have a free checker tool on there. I'm not selling it. It's out there. It's for something for you to use. We talked about LinkedIn early on, so I'm not going to dig into that too much other than pointing out that, people always forget you can post into groups. The JavaScript group has something like 20 million people in it. I wouldn't say post in there every time, but you get a good JavaScript you want, post it in there. You got a much broader reach. 20% of those are probably recruiters. Visibility, leaning into the algorithm, okay? Twitter is still a viable tool. That's about all I'm going to say there. Whether you like it or not, there are a lot of tech people out there, okay? Jumping back down to networking, we've dug into this a little bit, but I love this one. It's a great little post up there on networking. Yeah. But it is. You call it networking, but it's people. It's talking to people. It's getting to know people. It's having those conversations, and it's reconnecting. Use the proper tools, right? If I come in here, I know on LinkedIn on my phone that there's an option for a QR code that I can pull up and you guys can scan, right? And then you can connect to me. Don't follow. Right? One of the things you'll find is the larger the connector is, the further away that button is going to be. They hide the connect button. The follow button comes up first. I connect with a lot of people. You never see my connect button unless you go into the menu. Okay? Have that ready. When you connect, initiate the conversation. Thousands of connections do you no good. Yep, I'm out of time. Last thing I'm going to say is I went back and pared mine down. Back 19 years to start paring them down. Having an accountant in Sweden that I've never talked to ever, I don't know where the connection came from. It doesn't do me any good. Right? when we get together and have coffee chats, that's got value, right? Use it. Okay, I had to cut a lot out. Don't have a lot of time for QA because I know we got another talk coming up and we're trying to get back on track with the conference. All good? If you have questions, I'll be in the hallway for a few minutes.